Good morning, everyone. This is Clara with Card Stampin' with Clara. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Hope you're doing well today. We've had quite a week within our family this week. My nephew, my sister's son, and her husband's son was in a horrific head-on collision this week. But thanks to the good Lord, he looks like he's going to be okay. He's got some breaks in his leg and there's an ankle. He's going to have some repairs, but beyond that, he looks like that by the grace of God, he's going to be okay. So we're very thankful this week. Got a card for you this week made with the Country Home stamp set, and I'm going to show you, this is the card we're going to be making today. It says, "Simply thankful for all good things." And we are thankful, I promise you that. And then you could just write anything on the inside that you want to. We put a little sprig on the inside to kind of dress it up a little bit. So this is the card we're going to be making. It's a nice fall card. I'd actually made it before the accident happened. I didn't make it because of the accident, but I did have it made already. And like I said, we're thankful. Now then, before we go any further, if you would, notice we have a new host code this morning for the month of September. It's SXFPJVKC. So if you need something and you would care to order through me, please use that host code. And if you don't mind, click that subscriber button. That's always encouraging to me, and that way you'll get my videos. All right, let's talk about these. Whoops, knocked off my tape. Talk about the set that we're using today. And basically, this is the predominant set. There's some other accents from other sets in some of these cards, but this is the predominant one. It's called the Country Home Photopolymer Stamp Set. It is in our yearly catalog. It's one that I like, but I'd never done a video on, so I thought this might be a good time of the year to do a video on this one. So it's got Happy Harvest Blessings. So grateful for someone like you in my life. Hello, enjoy, love, thanks. And you can put a little ring around it, and I believe in one of them I did, so you can see that used. And let's see, simple, thankful for all good things. You are the happy to my day. We got this milk can and a pitcher and two options for flowers. One that has cotton in it. So I have used this one quite a bit. And like I said, it's photopolymer, so you can kind of get an idea. You can see through this when you're placing the stamps. I also used, this is the sprig that I used from this first frost set, and you know, it adds a nice touch when you need something that's kind of simple. This is a nice cling set, is what I'm trying to say. And I only used the one stamp from this one, which is, you know, it's kind of optional, but I liked it, I had it, so I used it. The other thing that we are using today for this card that we're making is this, it's called a 10-tile dynamic textured embossing folder. And as you can see, it just opens right up, and you can lay your paper, your cardstock in here. In this case, I laid a piece of foil in here for today's card. And with the foil, I did not spritz it with water, but with any other cardstock, I would. I'd spritz it with either water or alcohol. Just a light coat because it makes the paper give just a little bit so that you don't tear it. We're going to have two dies that we're using today. This one is also from the Frosted Floral set, but this is called Frosted Bouquet Framelits. So these are the two that I'm using today. This is for the sprig that you can cut out with the little berry type things on it. And this is for the sentiment. that I used to cut out where it would fit nicely at the bottom. So we'll take care of that. And I also used the rectangle stitched framelits die. These are really handy for a lot of projects, and I used, it's the third and fourth one in, if you count from the outside. That's the two that I've got on the back of this, so I could tell which ones are which. But you see all the options as far as sizes go, and these are the two that we're using today. All right, let me show you what I came up with. Some of these look like fall, and some of them look like Christmas. So it's just a matter of what you want to make right now. This one, I used a sentiment from the Toil Christmas, which we did a few weeks ago. This says, "May your days be merry and bright." Use that same picture and the flowers, done it in green and red, and it makes it look like Christmas. Now, I used the buffalo check stamp. It is, let me show you. I don't know if I'm sure if you've been stamping for a while, you've seen it, but if you haven't, it's just a great big stamp that has those checks on it, and you can do them in all kinds of colors. So this is really a neat background stamp to have. So I did this one, like I said, in green and white and red, and on the inside of it, I put that nice sentiment from the Toil Christmas. May the seasons be filled with beautiful moments and happy memories for you and those that you hold most dear. So that is one option for the card. This one is another one that looks kind of like, oh, maybe a little bit like Halloween. We've got a pumpkin on this. And this one is, this is the one that I use that little round outline stamp to go around the hello. I first stamped the hello, then I put that on top of it and stamped it in gray. So this made a nice fall. I put a little bow on this one, and then this one I put, "You are the happy to my day," and down at the bottom I wanted to add something, so I just put hello, hello, hello. So that was just me, I guess. All right, let me slide this one out. Here's one that I used. I used the pumpkin pie color to do the background stamp, the buffalo check stamp. And then I decided that I would make it look kind of, you know, I made the picture green and put green to match it. We got the cotton, and then I used the pumpkin pie to color what looks kind of like sunflowers. And this says, "Happy Harvest Blessings." And on the inside, I just stamped some cotton to kind of pull the card together. This is Early Espresso. The brown color it's called Early Espresso. And I put that around the outside, and I like that color combination a lot. All right, this is one that looks like fall as well. It also says Happy Harvest Blessings. I used the same embossing folder, the 10 tile dynamic folder for this one. And I don't know if you noticed to start with, but these little squares that I stamped at the bottom to make it look like a table or something, or maybe a counter. I stamped those, set the picture on it, added the cotton and the other flowers, and I had some little orange rhinestones from somewhere that I picked up, so they matched, and I put them on there. So anyway, and I put this down in the corner to add a little touch. But I liked the way this one turned out with the blue and the pumpkin pie. That's blueberry bushel, by the way, is the color of the blue. Sometimes I forget to tell you. This one was done in Night of Navy with the real red. This one looks like Christmas to me. This was some of the new DSP that we have. And I just put the Night of Navy color and the real red together and you see what I did with the picture on that one. Put a little bow on this one, so it changed it a little bit. Then I went back and I was trying to decide what to put on the inside, and I just used one of the stamps from that Toil Christmas again and put that on the inside and put red berries on this and green leaves, and you know, it looks like Christmas. So it's interesting how just the colors make a tremendous difference in the kind of card that you get out of this set. Now this one, I didn't put any of the images. I did not use the picture or the milk can or anything. I just simply used the sentiment, "You are the happy to my day." And I used the blueberry bushel again for the buffalo background check. Then I used some of the oval dies that I had, the layering dies. And I used some of the baker's twine. I put a little solid white bow on top of the dotted, you know, I can't remember the name of that one, I'm sorry. Let me reach back here. Somebody might want to know. Polka dot tulle ribbon is what it's called. And it comes in a roll, and so I just kind of double layered that one and used that same little sprig from the Toil Christmas and made it, you know, you can send it most any time the way this one looks. All right, we're down to the last one, and this is the real red for the background, and I used the milk can from this particular country set, and I decided to do something just a little bit different, which was I used a sprig that honestly is out of, I want to say out of date. It's retired. That's the proper way to say it. It's a retired stamp, but I put little red flowers on it and the green leaves, and it was just I wanted you to see how you can use things from other sets, just a little dab of something to give it a whole different look. So this is a different kind of flower or floral design than what I was just showing you. And this is also done in Christmas kind of colors. So shaded spruce is the green color, the real red, and on the inside I used the same sentiment from the Toil Christmas, the same sprig for the inside of that one, and I had some red baker's twine that I got somewhere, and it matched perfectly, so I used that. What I would say is this: the thing that I'm learning, and I would encourage you, if you want to do stamping on a regular basis, is when you get an opportunity to purchase a color of baker's twine that will match this cardstock. They don't have, Stampin' Up! Does not have all the colors at all the times. Sometimes they'll have green and white, sometimes they'll have blue and vanilla, different things. Right now there's no red available. So when you get an opportunity to buy some baker's twine, you might buy a roll just to have for sometime down the road, because it is so handy to be able to reach into your stash and find something that just matches and just works perfectly. And I tied this little bow and I thought it was pretty. So that's those are the cards for today. So we'll start making this card, and I'm going to show you how I obtained this card. I put it together. I want you to notice something if you can. This part of the milk can is embossed in silver. The flowers are embossed in gold. And this is an embossing where I use clear embossing powder to make this sentiment shine. So I want to show you how I did that, how I put it together and got the different colors. It's not hard, but I'd like for you to be able to see step step by step. I've done part of them ahead of time, but then the parts that I feel like you might not have an idea of how to go about it, I'm going to show you those today. So, we'll lay it right here. I've got my little packet. Not everything is in this little packet. I'll show you here in a second. A little bit different today. The first thing you always need is a card base. Your card base will always be, if you're making just a standard A2 card, let me put it that way, it will be 5.5 by 8.5 scored at 4 1/4. So that's what we have here. And in the attempt to save time, I went ahead and did my layering on the inside, which is always really simple. I like a border color. I like white or cream, vanilla, very vanilla on top of that. So whatever colors I'm using. So I stamped that and just layered it. This Calypso Coral is the color, and it is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then the Whisper White is 3 3/4 by 5. So all that information is on my website. You can click to a link that you can print out all the things that you will need, the measurements, everything. So it's really easy for you to do. For the front of the card, what you're going to need is another piece of the Calypso Coral. There again, it is 4 inches by 5 1/4. That will go on the front of the card. And this is the piece of champagne foil that I ran through that 10 tile dynamic folder. And it is so pretty. You can use the champagne. I'm sure you could use the silver as well. But I just picked this up because of the coral color. I kind of like that sheen together, I guess. This is cut out of with the third die that I was showing you, the rectangle dies. And these are 2 little sprigs that I cut out. Sometimes you can get by with one, sometimes you need an extra one. So I cut 2 of those. And this is the sentiment. And this is the one that I did with the clear embossing powder. So I'm going to take my Stamparatus here. And I have it set up so you can see. Did this last night to get it ready. I try to do my videos in the morning because sometimes my tongue gets tangled up as when I'm really rested well, and by nighttime, it's just better to do it in the morning. Let's put it that way. Okay, this is a Stamparatus. And with the Stamparatus, if you haven't seen it before, it comes with 2 plates. So you can go this way, and you can go this way if you need to. And in this case, I'm going to take this off because I've already done the first. I'm going to move this back just a little bit so that you can make sure that I'm under the camera so that you can see what I'm talking about here. I don't want to do it off camera and then you not be able to see it. That's kind of a wasted effort. Okay, this milk can is done with the silver embossing, and I did this milk can exactly the way that I'm going to do this flower, only I'm going to do the flower in gold. So what you do is you position your flower, and you can see, because these are photopolymer, you can see through where to put that line at the top of the pail. You're not trying to guess, well, am I here or am I up here? You can see. So that makes it nice. You take Versamark ink, and before you start inking up, you need to take what is called an embossing buddy. All it is a little pad that's got something in it that picks up static. The idea is to pick up any static or oil or anything that might be on the cardstock so that your embossing will stick real good. So sometimes when I think it's, I've got a heavy coat, I might go and just blow a little bit away. All right, now then, I'm going to take the Versamark. It's It's kind of a sticky ink. And as you can see, I got a little orange on this, but I found out it didn't make any difference. So, I should say Calypso Coral. I keep reminding myself. Sometimes I still think in terms of orange and purple and blue and, you know, but these do have specific names. Okay, after you have rubbed the embossing powder over your cardstock, which is important now, that is important, and you've got everything positioned, then you coat this. And as you can see, or maybe you can see, actually this little tiny bit of orange makes it a little easier to see. I like to do this a couple of times because I want everything coated good. You do not, otherwise you'll have to go back and start over. So I'm hoping after I press this down good. Okay, and this is the beauty of the Stamparatus, is that you can go right back over your image. It's not like the old blocks where you're trying to figure out if you got it straight or not. This is so much easier. Okay, now I'm sprinkling gold embossing powder, and Stampin' Up! Sells this in these little containers, and this is the gold. All right, now then, I'm going to lift this up, and I'm just going to lay this over, and I will clean this stamp when I'm off camera, so you don't have to wait on me to do that. It won't hurt anything to let it sit there a minute. What I'm doing is just kind of going back and forth. I think I should have got a bigger piece of paper to catch this, but it'll be okay. The reason you want to catch it is because if you don't catch it and put it back in your bottle, you're going to waste a lot of this stuff. So it looks like I've got a really good coating. And I had this folded so it would funnel it right back into the little jar. Okay, now then, what you want to do, like you saw me thump, if you didn't, I'll do it again. And if you've got a Swiffer cloth or something of that nature, you can pick up any of the embossing powder. And I'm going to reach over and turn on my heat tool and let it warm up just a little bit. But you can see how well that is coated in the gold, and you cannot see that tiny little bit of Calypso Coral that I had on my ink. So, the ink that I had on my pad's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Now then, this, as they say, this is where the magic takes place. Once it starts, it doesn't take but a second, but you have to get it hot enough. Okay, there we go. See, it's changing color. It's becoming shiny. And what I'm doing, as soon as it melts, is I'm moving to a spot that is not receive the heat to melt that, because you don't want to scorch it. Now, is that not quick and easy to go from dull to shiny? So I did this one in silver, did this one in gold, and the only difference for this one was I had to stamp that Calypso Coral color on first, and then put clear embossing so that the coral would show through the clear embossing powder. So that's, you know, you can make your cards have any color embossing by using the clear and the coordinating ink stamp. All right. Now then, I think this is probably cool enough. Feels like it is. Kind of like to go over it with a Swiffer to pick up anything that might not have come off real good. But usually if you got any excess powder sticking anywhere, it'll stick to your card when it melts, and then it turns out not to look as nice as it could. All right, I'm going to color this image, and there's not a lot of coloring, so I decided I'd do that on camera after I showed you how to emboss this. I'm going to use the Garden Green. I'm going to use the Calypso Coral. In this one, I'm going to use So Saffron. I think I used the Daffodil Delight in that, but I thought, well, you know, if I tell you that you need to use the Daffodil Delight, then you have to buy an extra set of water markers. So I thought we'll just use the So Saffron on this, and then you'll only have 2 versus 3 sets of markers. But the thing about the watercolor markers is you use them for all kinds of things. Now, watercolor works much better with embossing than does the blends that have alcohol in them. So that's what I've been told. All right, let's get these colored right quick, and then we'll cut this out and put the card together. I'm going to go around this, what looks like a sunflower to me. And I'm not going to worry about putting a different color in the center. On some of them I do, but this one I'm not going to. And something about embossing is when you're coloring with watercolor markers, it kind of helps to hold the ink, and it, you know, it's actually easier to color where you have embossed like this. Okay. And there was only one little flower in the middle that I wanted it to have kind of a yellow color. It won't be exact like the first one, but it will look nice. And like I said, if you want the daffodil or you want to buy a whole set of them, use the Daffodil Delight. If you don't, use the So Saffron. It's just, and if you've already got a marker, use that. I mean, you don't have to buy everything that I have used, you know, to produce a nice card. Use what you have and be creative. This is just to give you ideas. Okay, these are for the little berries. And this is the Gorgeous Grape. Okay. And the Highland Heather would work equally as well. Okay. I'm kind of working at an angle here, and I'm trying not to run out, so I'm trying to keep it where you can see it too. And my eyesight at that angle is not as good as sometimes the other. Anyway, you're going to see though, I'm going to be done here in just a jiffy. It is just not that hard, and it's quick. And when you're coloring things, you don't want to have to color 2 hours before you can put your card together. I mean, you want to be able to go ahead and get it done. This really looks like fall with the cotton balls. And something I have seen done, and you might want to try it, is some of the demonstrators have actually used cotton, real cotton, to put on the front of their cards. You've got some out of a medicine bottle or something of that nature. Let's see. Oh, there's one more. There again, it's all a matter of personal preference. I'm trying to touch back up the areas that I didn't maybe get as good the first time. What you might remember though, and I'll show you here in a second, is if you get some of this watercolor ink on the embossing. It's not going to absorb it. So you can take a little piece of something that you have, or even a cloth for that matter. Do you see? Maybe you can see that. Do you see where I picked that up? It wasn't where I colored, except what went up on the embossing. And I promise you, the thing about this is it will not dry like when it goes into the cardstock itself. So you can do this way with your hand, and the first thing you know, you've got green or blue or red or whatever all over your card, and that's not what you want. So I wanted you to be aware of that. It can ruin your card. Always be mindful when you're coloring around an embossing surface like that you can just blot it. Don't rub it, just blot, because rubbing it will do the same thing as taking your hand and smearing it. All right, this is my cutting plate, and I'm going to use this smaller rectangle die. I'm going to try to center that about as close as I can. Well, try. Try is the key word. Okay. I'm telling you, my Post-it tape just runs away all the time. I can't seem to keep up with it. I'm knocking it in the floor or hiding it behind something. Okay. All right. And something else I'm going to use this same piece. It's very, very thin. It's very, very cheap that I got somewhere. And I don't like to use it for card base because it's too thin. And I'm going to layer that little piece on top of my image. And there's only one reason that I'm doing it is because when it goes through the die cutting machine, as I'm running it through right now, sometimes if your plate has got some images cut in it, it'll make those images on on the piece that you're going to put on your card. And as you can see, it went right on through, and it didn't have, it's so thin it doesn't pose a problem to lay that extra piece of paper on top. You could just use a piece of computer paper. It'd work fine. Something thin. The only reason I put this tape on is just to keep it from wiggling when it goes through. All right. Okay. Now then, there's our piece. You've got silver and gold and clear embossing. So let's get this thing put together. Here's our card base. Tell you what, I'll lay this back down so you can kind of see it as we go. First thing I'm going to do is glue these pieces together, or these two pieces together. It doesn't matter, just as long as you remember that how things have to be joined together. It's kind of like building a house. Like I've said before, you've got to have a foundation, so just bear that in mind. And on this piece that has gone through the die cutting machine and been embossed, this was just with the embossing folder. You got lots of grooves, so you got to put enough glue on it to get it sealed down good. Okay, see if I can get this up, take a look at it, get it lined up. Okay, I think this time I got a little bit more than that. Whoa, here. Got a little bit more than I meant to, is what I was trying to say. Okay, what I'm going to do, and you may have seen me do this before, is like with your pokey tool, as they call them, and you got some that gushes out. I try not to have that happen, but sometimes it does. And get as much of it off as you can before it dries, and it'll look better. you can still take that eraser and get some of it off, but and it works good. But foil is kind of a tricky thing, and I should have been real careful, and I wasn't this morning, I guess. And I've got a thumbnail there that I'm going to... All right. I'm trying to poke myself. Here it looks like. All right, I think that still looks good. And we'll lay that over. I'm getting glue off my hands is what I'm doing, by the way. All right. Reach down and get my tweezers. I don't know why everything thinks it ought to be in the floor this morning, but it seems to. All right, this one we're going to get it glued, or as one cute crafter says, we're going to marry these two together. I thought it was the cutest thing when I heard that the first time. She always marries her layers, and she's a talented lady, but I think it's cute. All right. It needs to go that way just a little bit. All right. Well, trying my best to bleed on it here this morning. I see one little dab of glue there that I don't want to be there. Excuse me. All right, there we go. I believe that'll be all right. You can always tell when you hold it up in the light whether it's gone or not. All right, next thing is we're going to put this kind of in the upper left-hand corner, and we're going to leave more of a border here than we are around this side. Pardon me, I don't know what has got into me. I'll put a little of this multi-purpose glue on the back. And you can get this at Stampin' Up. I'll try to remember to tell you if I'm using something that's not available at Stampin' Up. This is a case too where you kind of have to press this down into position. Make sure that it's straight. Okay, what did I pick up off my hands, it looks like? Well, let's hope that this is going to clean up, because if it doesn't, it'll just ruin my card, whatever in the world it is. I don't know. All right. I don't know what I would do without this eraser. Now, look over here on this side. This is the thing that drives me wild sometimes. You have seen where my hands have been. And yet, from some unknown, and I cleaned the surface of this before I ever start, which makes no sense to me at all where this stuff comes from. But nevertheless, all right, thankfully, it came right off, whatever it was, and it was stuck to the card. But this is a little rubber eraser that you will have to get it somewhere like Amazon and trim, because they don't have them at Stampin' Up. But you see what a difference it made. My card has been saved by that one little eraser. So I'd like for you to know where you can get it and how valuable it is. All right, now then, this piece is going to go on to the card front of the card base. Okay. Make sure I've got it turned right. It's kind of like the old carpenter saying, check twice and cut once. You want to make sure that you check before you make a mistake. Make sure that you got it where you want it and turn the right way. Because it's real easy to get things turned around a little bit sometimes. Okay. This is, right, that should be good. Now then, we're going to take this last piece here. We're going to glue it together. That might be where some of this glue is coming from. I can't seem to get it where I want it this morning. Okay, I think that's balanced nicely. Now then, you need to think in terms of where you want to put this. And I think I like it where there's a little border around on both sides. And if you'll notice, the very first one of these I made this using some paper that was available when this first came out, and it's called galvanized something or other, but I had some left, but I didn't want to make a card that you couldn't get the products to make. So I decided I made it with this, but I decided that I wanted to make it with a piece of foil, which I did, and I like it maybe even better. But when I made this one the other night, I realized I got my milk can over a little bit to the right. So in this one, if you'll look, it's over to the left a little bit more. So you might want to be real careful when you cut out the milk can and the flour, that you get it centered like you want it. Now this one will be more correct because you can see that it's over where it's supposed to be. I mean, I say correct, let's just say maybe to my preference. The other is not wrong, but I just think to the eye it's more appealing to have it this way. All right, we'll reach over here and get some dimensionals. And we're going to put dimensionals on the back of this. Just take a couple of seconds here to do that. You know, as you do, you learn things, and you learn what works best and what you should have done. And, you know, I'm going to show you some of the things that I wish I had done different so that you can take a look at them and say, hey, yeah, that works better, it looks better, I'm going to go that way. Or you can say, no, I like the other way better. So, you know, you get options. This little reverse tweezer that I love so, that came from Amazon. Not trying to send you to Amazon to buy everything for sure, but you can't get, you know, I think it's fair when you can't get something that you can really use and really is helpful to you. It's, you know, it's nice to know where you can get it. My upline, as it's called in Stampin' Up, was the one that pointed out how very helpful these tweezers are. I cut just a little bit of that off because I wanted to make sure that it didn't hang down the bottom of the, below the bottom of the sentiment. So you just dab a little bit of glue on the back of these, and if you want one, you can put one. If you want two, you can put two. I suggest that as you are layering it, you put this over, and that kind of helps you to have an idea of where you want to put it. And I think maybe I will put 2 on this one. I'm going to put this one a little bit higher. Should be okay. But I just cut this out in the Calypso Coral color. And it looks like fall. In nature, it wouldn't be Calypso Coral all the way. But on the card, I think it looks good. Okay. One thing I don't want to have happen is I don't want this hanging over the edge of my card. Oh my goodness. It did not catch where I wanted it to. That one kind of overlapped a little bit. That's okay. Anyway, now then, let's take these protective coverings off and get this put on, and we'll be done. I want to get this up where I can make sure that it's straight. As straight as my eyes will see, I'll put it that way. There's a tiny little bit of glue that I wish hadn't been there. I hate getting glue on foil, and the one way around this is to use those adhesive sheets, which I have done a lot of in the past. That's why I love them so much, is that if you've got an adhesive sheet on the back of this, like these little sprigs, you don't have the problem of that glue going where you don't want it to. But I think the card has turned out well anyway. So, but you can see the difference now. You can see the difference in this one where the milk can's sitting over a little further. I like it with the edge out a little bit. And you also have a little bit more of a border here. So, yeah, little things can really make a difference. And I hope that's helpful to you. I will remind you before we go here, and I'm, winding things up, that the holiday catalog is now where you can order, like the Toil Christmas and some of these other things that are so nice. And I do want to make the point to tell you that I have a link to a PDF, and I don't have a picture of the catalog on my website, but you can click to that PDF and it will take you right to a complete catalog that you can take a look at. The reason I don't have the cover to the catalog on my website is because my sister helps me with these things like setting up the website, putting catalogs on, taking catalogs off, that kind of thing. And she is more capable of doing that than I am, and because of her son being in this accident, I certainly wasn't going to ask her to do it this week. So when she gets things settled down, I'll ask her to put the catalog up. But you can still get to it, you can still see it. It's just, you're not going to see a picture of it initially, but it's there. I got a copy of it and put it on the website. I just don't know how to do the other part yet. Anyway, thank you for your time. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Remember, these can make Christmas or fall, or if you put pink in this, you could have a springtime, or this stamp set is versatile enough that you can use it all year round, and that's the great thing about it. You can put a little Christmas sentiment with it and change the whole card. You can change your colors. You can use background stamps. So something that's really good about this buffalo background stamp that I showed you is that if you don't feel like that you can afford a lot of designer series paper, you can make your own with that. And some of the other there's some other background stamps that you can do that with too, and you might want to check those out. You know, once you get started and you have a lot of options to choose from, it makes it easier to make cards, and it also makes it more fun because you've got more options to choose from. But I understand everybody has got to start somewhere, and it's hard to have everything to start with. So you try to start small and build on it, I guess, is the best way to approach that. Well, folks, you all have a good week. Stay safe. Thank you for your time. If you need anything, send me a message. Go to my Clara's blog and contact me. And I check that regularly to check for messages, see if anyone wants anything or needs anything, or you can call me, whatever. But you all, like I said, take care, and the good Lord bless you and keep you, and if all goes well, we'll see you again in a week. Thank you.